mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
You moved the cemeteries, but you left the bodies, didn't you? Didn't you? Hiya!
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 Hello! Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. That scene that you did is the best scene, one of my favorite scenes in movie history, because it's the scream at the end. Why? Why?
It's down on the knees. It's down on the knees. Willem Dafoe platoon moment.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting shot and he's waving his arms in the air. That's how overacted that bit is. Craig T. Nelson, I salute you, sir, but good God.
My God. Well, we're not. You may think that we are doing the Poltergeist movie, but we're not. Yeah, I noticed him earlier. That's not creepy at all.
My mother-in-law makes them.
Oh my goodness! I knew that she made stuff. I didn't realize she made that.
Yeah, we sell them. We've got quite a few, I think, still left. But she's done life-size ones, my mother-in-law, and we call him Polty. And he's exact replica. Sean Clark, who owns one, has seen these, and he came up and had a chat about them and saying that these are the most closest he's ever seen to the original. Obviously, these are blue, and the original is pink because of the color dye situation going off and all that crap. But yes, if you ever see the podcast or the Cursed Films TV program, you'll see that Sean's is pink. However, this little sod is he sits in my front room and stares at me most of the time, but I brought him up just for the purposes of this.
Oh. If our audio listeners won't know what we're talking about, it's the clown.
Yes, little Polty the clown.
Little Pouty.
Little Polty.
Oh, little Pouty. Love it. I don't have an intro this week because it's something different. It's we're doing Poltergeist. Oh no, what we're doing? Cursed movies. ... Poltergeist. But I am going to do the disclaimer because there is some things that we're going to be talking about tonight that I am literally going to let the disclaimer just speak for itself. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our socials. Join us on Discord or join us in the comment section where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because we could all agree to disagree in fandom. So, let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism. Hit it.
Don't be a Richard or a Dick. Either or, but don't be that.
Don't be either. Don't be any of them. Another trigger warning, one and only that I'm going to do is just to say that tonight's episode is going to feature some kind of grim topics, death and murder, and yeah, you've been warned. If you don't like it, totally understand. See you next week. But that is where the conversation's going to go into tonight.
Real life or life.
Yeah, real life. Real life. Sorry, I get the giggles out of the way with now because this is serious talk. This is so serious. Curse movies. They have there's a tag on a lot of them out there. And when we said, oh, we'd love to do something on cursed movies because they can get some like really interesting ones, the first one that came to my mind is Poltergeist. If you type in cursed movies, it's the first thing that's going to come up in YouTube. I guarantee you, it'll have something to do with Poltergeist. But what was very surprising is, for all that this movie is I'm guessing the franchise, because it doesn't just cover the three of them. Yeah,
there's three that starred Heather
Yeah.
So I only consider 3. I don't know if they made 27 of them, which is highly likely, but I just stopped paying attention after 3.
No, yeah, they could have. They did do a remake with Sam Rockwell. Did you see that one?
Never talk of that because I love
No.
Sam Rockwell. Like for me, Sam Rockwell is one of the most underrated actors
Mhm.
of this generation, like now.
Our
He
generation.
he is genuinely, to me, a god amongst men. You cannot
Mhm.
have someone who can play a Cajun child molesting freak in Green Mile and then him be so lovable and wonderful in another movie, and then he's Justin Hammer in another, and then he's like he just flip-flops. Like, it's the guy plays bad and good so well.
Oh, I think he plays bad better though. There's something just I just love like I love the Green Mile. I
Hmm.
have a tendency if anyone mentions that movie, I'm like I'm gonna go and watch Green Mile. I read the book not long ago, and Billy the Kid. Oh, he didn't like being called Billy the Kid. He absolutely hated it. But Wild Will, whatever his name was, that's who I pictured was him. I think he's great as Justin Hammer, absolutely phenomenal. But what really got us is Jojo Rabbit.
I've not
He's
seen that yet.
You've not seen Jojo Rabbit?
No,
Hold
I know
on.
what it's about. I know what it's
Mark it in
about.
your books, people. There's a movie that
It's
I have seen and she hasn't.
the thing for me is I do like war films, right? Don't get me wrong. I know I've watched a lot of war films, but I went through a phase of Taika Waititi just annoying me.
I get that.
And I'm a What We Do in the Shadows OG fan. I mean, and we're talking going back to the film, the original
Hmm.
film, going into all the TV shows like Wellington Paranormal and everything that came off the back of it, right? Love Taika, love Jermaine. But I just got to the point when Jojo Rabbit come out, I was just like, no, I'm done. Thor, Love and
Fatigued.
Thunder was death to me. I mean, it wasn't horrific, but it was not good in any way. And I don't think
No.
I was just really mad at Taika Waititi at the time. I think it was
It
around
just,
the same time. I was like, I'm done. I
yeah.
just need a break from you, sir.
No, I understand. I can totally understand that the fatigue kicked in and Love and Thunder just really pushed it over the edge. But take him out of it. It's a brilliant story. It's gut-wrenching, but it is a brilliant story. And you've got Sam Rockwell who plays I want to say he's a Nazi soldier, and he's hilarious. Stephen Merchant is in it. It's just it's not Taika is in for a very small percentage,
Mm.
and the rest is the kid. And Scarlett Johansson, she was phenomenal in it. But that movie kind of it messed me up a little bit. There's a
Yeah.
bit of a set, and at the end, you were like, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave. Like, can we go with you? Yeah, it's a good one, but Sam Rockwell is a diamond. But yeah, he's not in these movies. He's in
No,
the remake.
the remake we shall never talk about because there was no need for it.
No, there
B,
wasn't.
they changed things, but they made it like for like, but they changed things at the same time, and it was just like it didn't make sense. What were you
No,
doing?
no. I remember we watched it, and I was like, what the fuck have we just watched? This is not Poltergeist. And why are we watching it? Because we could literally watch Poltergeist. That movie is amazing. It stands up. It stands the test of time. Didn't need to watch it. But yeah, the did you ever watch E True Hollywood Story? Like back in the day? Like back in the day when it was good.
Maybe.
When E was good.
Oh, yeah, the odd bit, yeah.
Used to do a show called E True Hollywood Story, and this is where I got all my mortgage. This is where my love of Selena comes from. Is E True Hollywood because that's how I I would never have found out about Selena if it wasn't for E True Hollywood Story. Because how the fuck am I going to hear about a tier one and singer over in the northeast of England? It's just not going to happen. But I always remember the E True Hollywood Story on this coming out, and I was so fascinated. And then obviously it takes you down a rabbit hole of everything that comes with it. And if we start with the film itself, the curse of how it's such a I don't know what the definition of cursed movie is anymore because this just seems like a series of unfortunate events.
It is the Lemony Snicket of films, correct?
Yes.
I mean, I this was what I was going to ask you. Do you believe in such things as curses?
No. I believe that things happen and you can literally tie it to something. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, for me, a curse means that someone has hexed it. Like, do you know what I mean? They've said, damn
Like
to all that is involved in this, you all will go down with this ship. I put the
the black
hex on
mark on
you.
you.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I've always been told with that kind of thing, regardless of whether it's, and this is no disrespect to any kind of alternative kind of beliefs out there,
Hmm.
but with anything, it's the amount of credence you give it to whether it will affect you or not. So it's the same principle as with a Ouija board, right?
Hmm.
It's just a piece of card or wood until you give it the light, that you give it the ability to freak you out. A Ouija board has just got numbers and letters on it. It doesn't mean dick. If you believe when you're playing with it that you can talk to that, psychosomatically, there's every chance you're moving it yourself, but there is a percentage chance that it isn't and it is real. However, if you don't believe, then it means nothing more than a bit of wood and a table placemat to you. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
with all this stuff with curses, and I am a little bit on the fence. Like you
Mm.
say, it is a series of really, really unfortunate events. However, they don't take place really when the film's being shot.
No.
It's all just like a domino effect
Yeah.
afterwards. So you could say, oh yeah, well, I was born in 1980 and my granddad died in 97. Oh, what a cursed life I've led. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it doesn't really
No,
connect.
no.
So I feel like there's only credence to this because people give it credence. And
Totally.
the amount of interviews I've seen this last week with people going, this is bullshit. I hate it. I hate the fact that they say it's cursed. How dare they? And I'm like, I can see why people are getting angry. So
Yeah. Yeah. Talking of Ouija boards, I generally thought mine had moved the other night.
cat knocked it probably.
Yeah. Took us ages to realise though. I have two in a cabinet. One is the one that was on my wedding table, and another one that Anth bought. And one's my newest one is wooden, and it's beautiful, and it's got this gorgeous planchette, and it was sat face down. Normally it's up, and I was like looking at it going, and you know, for a second when you're not thinking properly, and I just went, "Have you done that?" And then you're like, Sam, you've got three cats. That's how it happened. But it took us ages. But I totally get what you mean by that. It is a case of like the because of all these, and we'll get into this, the misfortunes of this movie. It's not directly linked to the movie.
No, for me to call this not just a franchise, but say the original film for just
Yeah. Mhm.
sake. If it was one thing after another that ceased production, ceased filming, ceased this, they have to do that, they have to stop because of this, then you start to think to yourself, okay, yeah, that's some shit out of luck they've had. That's a series of events that you think to yourself, oh, maybe there's something going on there.
Mhm.
But this just seems that the net is a bit too wide for it to be considered a cursed movie,
Yeah. And
in my
this
opinion.
Nope, and I am totally with you. I wrote this down. I took this from I can't remember where I got it from now, but it was kind of like I'll read it. It says the so-called, and it has so-called poltergeist curse is an urban legend largely based on four cast members' deaths. And that's the definition of this curse movie. These four people, all three of them, all four of them, died in different three of them were ill, one of them was murdered.
Two of them were murdered.
Actually, it was four. We missed the fourth.
Two
No, hang on, hold on.
and three were ill. There's five.
Dominique, Heather, Julian, Will. It's five.
Yeah, so two were murdered, three were ill.
Yeah, I didn't know about the other murder until the other day, though. Generally didn't know about that one. So that kind of did shock us a little bit. I mean, this movie, it has the stories of, well, Spielberg used real skeletons. Well, we've talked about this on past episodes on why they use real skeletons. It's cost effective.
Now, I saw an interview. If anybody does see that Cursed Films documentary series that was on Shudder,
Hmm.
the very first episode is this one. It's only 23 minutes long, the first episode, but I thought I'd go back and watch it again just to see what had happened, and I forgot some of the people they interviewed on this. Excuse your Ryan Turex, because if I ever have to meet Ryan Turek, he is the head developer for Blumhouse.
Yes, I know who he is. I can see him.
Words.
He's quite a handsome man, though.
He seems a very nice man. However, I just need to have a word and just say, "Excuse me, Mr. Man." No, but
Let's sit down and talk.
no, dear sir, from all the horror film buffs, yeah. But yeah, they interviewed the prop master on this for the original movie,
Right.
and he said he found the fact that people were saying this movie was cursed because they used real Indian skeletons. And when I say Indian, I'm not saying Native American, I mean actually from the country India, because that's where the majority of skeletons come from for
Is it medical?
for like medical skeletons that you see. We've got four. We've got four downstairs. Yeah, we've got four. We've got four human skulls. We've got half an entire skeleton, and we've got various arms and legs and hands floating around in our house. Right, all legally purchased. Thank you. But because I have a fascination with old medical stuff, they've all got writing on and things like that. But we did have 2 or 3 of the skulls. I don't know what the word is, looked at, and they are from either Asian or Indian descent, the majority of medical skeletons. Now, I don't know how it works. It's still very much of the premise that they're either bought and sold because they're people that don't have families to claim them. So they sell the bodies to medical science. So in America, and I presume it's very much similar in the UK. I know there's a thing where you can donate your body to science. So they can take your body to a body farm and they can work out the different ways in which your body can decompose, that they can monitor it, and then they'll know if there's a suspicious occasion or a body dying in a certain way, that they can relate it to this, that, and the other. So it's technically similar in respect of you're donating your body for science.
Yeah.
However, you've got no bloody clue what's going on. You're gone. You're not. I think this is what the guy said. He basically said, I find it disgusting, the premise that they think that because we used real skeletons, that killed a little 12-year-old girl. He said, the fact that people have blamed the prop department for the whole of this since 1982 on the death of a child. He's like, there's so many other movies. He was like, you look at any of the Vincent Price movies, House on Haunted Hill, the very last scene where he makes the skeleton come out, I think, real one. Frankenstein, real one. You go to any science lab in America, you see the kids, like there's real skeletons in the. I don't know if they've replaced them with plastic.
No, we've talked about this before. They use it because it's cost effective.
Yeah, exactly. You can.
It's so easy to just go and buy a skeleton and say, right, I'll take you. In America, they do actually, I don't know how it used to be, and I don't know if this is more recent, but I've obviously read a lot of books on death. And there was it was a cremation book, like oh God, who was it? Oh, the mortician, Caitlin Doughty.
Yeah.
Her book. And she says they would get like boxes upon boxes of just people. Once medical science was done with them, they just got put in the burner and that was it. They were gone. Yeah, but to blame skeletons on what happened to at least 3 people in this it's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, these skeletons were used in the purposes. He said that he doesn't see how the souls of the people that donated their bodies or gave their bodies would come back and weave this absolute trail of destruction over a period of time because 10 of them were used in a movie for a period of maybe, I don't know, cut down to about 5 minutes worth of camera time.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of months worth of shooting, depending on, how long it took. But
Yeah.
the
It's
guy's
it's
actual quote made me laugh. He went, he said, it's fuck all to do with the skeletons. That was his actual quote. And I was like,
I
yes.
totally believe him. I actually took down because I was like, what makes this a curse movie? Take away what we know about the people.
Yeah.
What makes this a curse movie? Because I
No.
know in The Exorcist,
Hmm.
it's not to do with the deaths, it's more to do with the topic that they were dealing with. So I was like, what makes it a curse movie? So I typed in Google, what makes Poltergeist a curse movie? And I copied and pasted the first bit that pops up, and it gives you cast deaths.
Hmm.
And then it says, some believe that using real skeletons on set caused a bad vibe and mood for everyone. Some believe that the deaths of the cast members were fueled by evil spirits that haunted the set. If this is what you are defying as your cursed movie set, get in the fucking bin.
That's the thing. Even Jo Beth Williams, the mum, when she
Right.
was interviewed about this, she said yes, she didn't know at the time. She said she just thought they were really good, well made up
Mm-hmm.
props. She didn't really question it. She said she wasn't told until like later, much later on. She said, I ran into one of the special effects guys and I said, you guys making all those skeletons, that must have been really amazing and must have taken ages. He said, oh, we didn't make them. Those were real. She said, yeah, that, that they impressed upon her like maybe 5, 10 years later that they were real skeletons. And she said, it wasn't something that was unheard of at the time. She said they were cheaper to acquire than plastic ones. Plastic ones were absolutely extortionate. She said, so it didn't surprise her. She said, but if she had known that they were real, she said she would have given a better performance because she would have
Oh, I thought
been,
her performance is brilliant.
but she feels like she would have given it better because she knows that they were
Yeah.
people. So,
Oh, that's a shame that she feels that way because I thought she was absolutely brilliant in it. But we've talked about it. It probably was House on Haunted Hill. We referred to the fact that they used to use real ones. So with that, maybe we should just go into, the people that have created this storm that is cursing the poltergeist. And I'm not going to go with the most obvious one first because I'm trying to keep myself centered.
yeah.
We'll start with the one that I know least about, which is Will Sampson.
Yeah. See, now if you're going down the avenue, I have heard about this one.
Mhm.
He was in Poltergeist 2.
Yeah.
Um, the sad thing about this is that his death was fully preventable,
Oh
according
shit.
according to some of the guys I've seen interviewed. Will died of malnutrition and kidney failure due to the malnutrition, right? He was only
Shit. Okay.
53 years old at
Mm-hmm.
this. But the thing with him is that he's the only one that did something on set that made people think that he might have been affected by outside forces. Because Will was he played a shaman in Poltergeist 2, right? He Native American guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to rid the set of all the bad juju, the
Yeah.
feeling. He didn't like it. So he wanted to do his version of a ritual they keep calling it an exorcism, right? Bearing in mind the exorcism is only used as a term by the Catholic Church. Exorcisms do not they don't necessarily exist in all religions.
No.
um I don't think they exist in the Native American tradition. I think they just want to push the spirits on. They want the spirits to move on and go and
Yeah,
be.
it's sage. The sage with
Yeah.
their yeah. Now sage, it's something that I don't use anymore because of um there's a big argument with cultural appropriation. So I tend and I don't understand enough to where I'm like, okay, well I'll stop using it. The smell is unreal.
Smells like
Beautiful.
cooking turkey. Yeah, lovely.
I love white sage. But yeah, I won't. I tend to. I don't buy it anymore, and because again, I don't. If I don't understand it,
Mm.
and it clearly upsets someone, I'm all right just to walk away. It's okay. But for anyone who doesn't recognize the name of Will Sampson, a junior, you may recognize him from probably one of the most famous roles I would say he was in was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mhm.
He is the guy at the end of the movie who chucks the bin out the window and just walks off into the sunset. Doesn't say a goddamn word. But yeah, I did not know it was malnutrition.
Yeah, he died 2 years after the movie. So I want to say it was shot in 85, part two, and he died in 87,
Yes, he
something
did.
like that.
Yeah,
It's around
yeah.
then. And he he was a healthy ox of a man.
Oh yeah, they say his weight was like 260 pounds,
Yeah.
and he's like, healthiest and dropped to 140. Now the numbers might not look significantly big, but to a big bulking man, yeah, there's
Yeah.
gonna be a noticeable difference. And there is. I'm looking at his photograph right now, and it's just the face. I don't recognize him.
Mm.
So
The
sad.
Yeah, it was. So he decided in his infinite wisdom, because through helping, through whatever the thought process was, um, he thought he would cleanse the set, sage the set, exercise the set, whatever route you want to go down. So he thought he would come in and do that. And after he did, his health just took a really bad decline over the next couple of years. And yeah, so they attribute his death. He's probably the most direct death in the sense of connected to something that has occurred on set. When you look at all the other deaths, they don't really correlate to anything that happened on set. They're just other deaths.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I've just read something that's just blown my mind, and I'm gonna have to share it now because you know what I'm like. I can't keep anything to myself. His son, Tim Sampson, has appeared in Always Sunny. Sweet D has a heart attack. He's in that. He plays one of the orderlies, and obviously Danny DeVito is in that. Danny DeVito was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The best one, he was in Spaced. Do you know when Daisy gets a job
yeah,
and she absolutely fucking hates it, and the boss is like a what's the Nurse Ratchet,
yeah,
and then at the end the guy chucks the dustbin out the window, and Daisy walks out the door. It's Tim. It's his son. Isn't that crazy?
that's, I'm very confused.
Yeah, this is Will's son continued his legacy on by portraying kind of like his father's signature like character in Always Sunny and in Spaced of all things. And he was an artist as well. Not Tim, Will.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at this and I'm like, I need to see his face now. You know, when you're just one of those people that
The
I'm like,
thing is, when I'm picturing it in my head, I can't see him in the it's like they use like the back of his head. Oh god, yeah, he does look like his dad. Yeah, he does. He looks like his dad.
oh, I'll look later. It's no good.
That's crazy. Okay, so yeah, Will Sampson. So he is a kind of like direct set, you know.
Yeah, he's the only one out of the five that they reckon he died because of his actions. He may have become affected in some way from the spirits that he was trying to clear. They feel like maybe they took over his body and made him ill that way. I call
It's
nonsense, but you know,
it's a shit thing to put onto someone who comes from a very spiritual background.
mhm.
Because you can't then turn around and roll your eyes and go, "Ugh," because the Native Americans do have a lot of spirituality in them, and it's deep rooted, and it's not something to be fucking laughed at or to be
No,
mocked at. So to kind of put him in that category is like, no.
yeah, it's, I think there's an element of respect that comes with any kind of native communities, because if it wasn't for them, you know, when you look at the Native Americans and the Aboriginals and you know, you look at like the just all the native communities tend to have totally different outlooks on things as well. Like the two-spirited people, I think, is an absolutely beautiful sentiment. Like for them, they call people who are trans or mainly trans, but they call people who are, they class themselves as they, them, two-spirited people, because they don't know if they're feminine or masculine, so they call them two-spirited because they're both the same. And I think it's a lovely notion, you know, with the Inuit. I don't know.
It's not been closed-minded, is it?
No, and this will be something going back thousands of years, and they stay open all the way through, you know. And the Maori have the two-spirit tribe as well, and things like that. So I think we, as westernized colonizers that weren't here in the first place, I mean, we're descendant from Romans and Germans because they're the ones that invaded the Celts, you know. So as a British person, born and bred, I come from all sorts of places because we were never the original people here. However, we get our traditions and our roots from thousands of different versions of religions, of you know, we don't have one direct beeline. And so when you see Indigenous people and the love and the spirit and the just the pure respect they have for keeping things true and keeping tradition alive, I just think I implore it. And I think it's just such a horrific thing to say the one man trying to make something better for everybody was the downfall of him. I think it's atrocious. I just don't agree with that. I think it's
I don't. I think it's a terrible sentiment to put onto him. Don't like it. Yeah, don't like it. Sorry, I got totally lost in what you were saying because it was like I was like, yes, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. Completely. Moving on to the next one that I just want to get out of the way with because I don't want to get, once again, there's not a great deal on him. And second of all, Julian Beck. Died of stomach cancer in 1983. Julian Beck looked ill the majority of his life.
Julian Beck, that's why they cast him, because they wanted someone that looked. The Reverend Kane is who he plays in Poltergeist 2. May I add, just 2. Julian Beck was only Kane in 2.
Yeah.
Nate Davis was Kane in 3, and this is why they say 3 is cursed, because and here we go. They say that it's cursed because the mask that they use for Nate Davis was based off traditionally. This is the rumor / theory. Julian had a death mask cast, and they're saying that they used the death mask to make the mask of Reverend Kane that Nate Davis has to wear in 3. Now, there's no proof it was a death mask, and there's no proof it was a life cast. So nobody knows for 100% if he cast it while he was still alive or it was after he passed away, right? But they attribute the fact that this mask was used and still looks nothing like Julian as Reverend Kane. You can blatantly tell that's horrifying, but not on the level of horrifying because it's scary. Julian had this, Reverend Kane had this creepy, like, just Julian had that natural thing about him where you knew he was going to get typecast.
And he was,
yes.
And I got his date of death wrong. It was 1985 because he can't die in 1983 because that is really creepy if he went on to make Poltergeist in 1986.
Yeah, he never got to see, sadly, the movie.
No, he didn't.
Before it came out, didn't he? So
no, and I know that you by now have seen if you watchers or listeners to the Nerdy Up North podcast, but I had a connection to the podcast that we did last night to this one. So last night's episode we did the Addams Family, and Grandmama is Judith Malani, can't say her name, and she was married to Julian Beck. They had an open marriage. He was actually in a long-term relationship with a man. She was in a long-term relationship with a woman.
Oh,
Hmm?
they were beards.
Yeah, pretty much. But they had an open marriage. Do you know sometimes though, I kind of understand it in a way, like because it's like you get the best of like what you want to do, but then you've also got someone to come back to and like have like share conversations with and company and
There's not the pressure of
exactly. Uh-huh.
the emotional side sort of it.
He also shared a lover with Andy Warhol's third husband.
Okie dokie.
Actually, I don't know if I'm reading that right. Not even about shit. Oh, they both did. So she had a long-term relationship with a woman. He had a long-term relationship with a man. They two married to each other. They also shared a lover, a shipyard worker who was the third husband of Andy Warhol's acolyte Dorothy Podver. Right? Okay. So it wasn't Andy Warhol's husband. It was one of his muses. But yeah, they shared one. That's really confusing. They also had two children together. No, and do you know what? They're both artists.
That'll explain it.
Yep. For Julian in 2004, 19 years after his death, he was actually inducted into the American Theatre Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was big on stage. He was a stage guy, massive stage actor. And I think people forget that there is life outside of movies sometimes, and there's this frowned upon thing that you can't step from one to the other. And there is a massive eye roll thing in the community when you see, say, like a Hollywood star stepping into the britches on, say, West End or on Broadway.
Yeah.
Oh no, come in here, taking our jobs. It's like the only difference is you get one shot to do it on a night.
Yeah.
Or you get 50,000 shots to do it on scene. Never judge someone and say they're incompetent. I've seen some amazing TV and film actors doing shows, actual physical like West End shows. And
the one that got me and probably didn't change my opinion. It changed my opinion on the person, but not the whole thing itself, as in like, this film actor can't be a stage actor kind of thing. It was the actual person himself. I was privileged enough to see Frankenstein with Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller. Now I know that Benedict Cumberbatch can act. I'm not. Johnny Lee Miller is just Johnny Lee Miller. I be Johnny Lee Miller.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have an opinion on him until when you can run circles around Benedict Cumberbatch and make him look like a little bitch, you've got my attention, because I'm not looking at Benedict anymore. It's him. He absolutely, I don't want to say like stole the show. He was just the main focus. He was absolutely amazing. And I have seen the reverse. I think he was the monster and Benedict was the doctor. And I have seen the reverse and it doesn't work. Johnny Lee Miller is perfect as both, but Benedict can't do the monster.
Right.
It's for me anyway. So it wasn't a case of it like turned my nose up like, oh, Johnny Lee Miller trying to pretend that he's a stage actor. It's really common. Vincent Price was a stage actor before he was a movie star, and he was one of these ones. Like I learned about Humphrey Bogart for the Maltese Falcon. He was a stage actor before he was a film star. And he when he did Maltese Falcon, he was still performing on stage. He wanted to keep that one foot because that is like, they're a tight-knit community, the theatre folk.
Oh,
and his first wife left. Yes.
Wendy's do live on.
They do, but his first wife left him when he went to movies, and it was for no other reason because she didn't want to leave the theatre. She didn't want the movie life. She was happy on the stage. Robin Williams is a thespian actor. He's a Shakespearean or was a Shakespearean actor. He was on the stage doing Shakespeare. Like these actors who are actors need to learn their craft.
Yes. And it will help them. Doing stage work does help them apply to movies. It makes them more efficient because they're not going through take after take after take. They're not costing the studio more.
Nope.
So it's always a good exercise when it's affordable to put as a movie star into a Broadway production or a National Theatre production or a Broadway or a West End theatre. Because you see, Sigourney Weaver just came off of doing a huge run of shows in the UK.
Yeah. Did you see them bellends though?
Oh, Stop Oil.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I don't understand. Right. I'm going to have to stop because I'm very opinionated on these little sods. So I really can't understand the logic of ruining things to put a point across.
Nope.
You're ruining people's lives. You're ruining people's just the amount of disruption they're causing only benefits. It only harms the people. It's not harming the government.
No,
so therefore your point
is
moot. Your point is exactly.
You stopping that ambulance in the middle of the road is not fucking making Keir Starmer or any of the others turn around and go, oh, wait a minute, hold on.
They've stopped an ambulance. Let's stop importing oil.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
No, honest to God, it's one of those things where I just think
you're fighting a losing battle. If you want people to get on your side, don't go around and fucking around with Stonehenge. Do not fucking mark Stonehenge. They fucking marked it. Do you know you
themselves to some paintings? They threw paint and destruction over things that they have no level of respect for. They sit in airports on the floor. Well, I'm sorry, I'm walking over you. I couldn't give a monkey's testicle if you're in the way. I've paid thousands of pounds to go on my fucking holiday. You're getting a suitcase round your noggin if you're not going to let me pass. It's as simple as that.
They're all a bunch of hypocrites. They all go to these protests in their Land Rovers with their mobile phones tucked in the side of it. So let's not forget, a bunch of fucking hypocrites. I haven't got anything more on Julie.
TED Talk.
Yeah, honestly, I've been on a right one this week doing me TED Talks. I did a brilliant one at work the other day about, stop giving a shit. I think I did one to the women of nerd culture as well. I was like, just stop. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. I don't know who I'm kidding. I'm like the stressiest person ever. I've got nothing more on Julian Beck. It was just
not really, no.
Yeah, he unfortunately passed away. I copied and pasted that. It says 1983. It was 1985.
1985, yeah, stomach cancer.
Yeah. The next one on the list. Oh, I want to do Heather.
Okay.
We're going to do Heather O'Rourke.
Okay.
I think I need to calm down a minute before I get into the next one. Because that's where the rage levels are really going to amp up to 100. Heather O'Rourke died in 1988 at the age of 12. Now, again, completely and utterly avoidable.
Yes.
This girl could still be here today. Unfortunately, she's not because do you know who she reminds me of? I know it sounds really daft, but do you know who she reminds me of? Jean Harlow. It's exactly the same circumstances as Jean Harlow. Completely misdiagnosed. Something so straightforward. One of her actors, wasn't Cary Grant. It was somebody, a really, really famous actor, and if his name comes, who did Gone with the Wind?
Oh God,
I've got Google set right in front of us.
Who
did Gone with the Wind? What was his name?
It wasn't Cary Grant.
It wasn't Cary Grant. It was. It was Clark Gable. Oh,
yes. Jesus, all I could think was CG Clark Gable.
Clark Gable. It was Clark Gable who went up to Jean Harlow on a few hours before she died and could smell urine. You and her kidneys have gone. She had kidney failure. What they were treating her for was influenza. And if they actually paid attention to symptoms, a fucking actor walked in and was able to turn around and go, shit, her kidneys are gone. And by then it was too late. And this is exactly the same thing with Heather O'Rourke if they actually did their fucking homework and stopped looking at this 12-year-old girl going, well, you're healthy. You should be healthy.
Nah, there's a there was an interview with the director of Poltergeist 3. Obviously, it was the last film that she was involved in. And he said there was times when they had to not pause filming, but they had to give her a couple of days grace here and there because her cheeks would swell up and she'd look like a chipmunk. So in some of the scenes you would see her face looks completely different, like swollen
Her eyes look like they're sunken in the back of her head.
yeah, and so there is this is the thing. I have read about 10 different ways that she died.
Yeah, me too.
They're all related to the same thing, but they're saying, oh, she didn't do this or she done this and that led to this. And it's like, no. The one that I'm most inclined to believe is the one that makes the most sense, which is it's a congenital disease that she was born with. She was misdiagnosed, and it happened that it was her time at that point.
Unfortunately, it was too late. Just to step back a little bit into the life of Heather. Heather's sister was a TV actress. And I don't want to come across as judgy, but when you look at Heather's mom, you could tell that her children were her bread makers. And I don't mean that in a derogatory. I'm really trying not to be derogatory because Heather's mom comes across as such a lovely and caring mother. But I think she understood her children had potential. They were blonde hair, blue eyes. It was the time of the sitcom. They could make some money. And her sister did that. Now, they were in a studio sitting down when Steven Spielberg walked past her and stopped and went, "You. Why are you here?" And she was like, "Well, I'm here for my sister's audition." And he's like, have you ever done movies? Actually, she was a bit to a dick to him because she wouldn't talk to him. She sat there completely stone-faced until he was like, "Why won't you speak to me, child?" And she's like, "Because my mother told me not to speak to strangers, and you're a stranger."
Well, not
She
everybody
was
Steven Spielberg is. Do you
no,
know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Vibes. I mean,
But it wasn't Poltergeist that he had her in mind for.
mm,
It was E.T.
mhm.
And Drew Barrymore was penciled in as Carol Ann and Poltergeist. And it wasn't until they did screen tests so Heather O'Rourke screen tested for E.T. and vice versa, and they switched it around. And it wasn't until they got them on where they initially ended up is where the studio went, and that's where they belong. So Drew Barrymore was initially sketched in for Carol Ann.
I could see Heather doing Gertie. I could see it, but
Don't know if it'd have the same effect.
I don't think it would. I mean, it would be a completely different path Drew would have gone down, I'm sure, because I don't think she would have had the misfortune or been treated the same way through being in Poltergeist as she had been from being in ET.
I don't know when it comes to Drew because
Life.
yeah, Drew is she comes from a dynasty. Like the Barrymores are an absolute dynasty. So she carries weight behind with her name. And I see her show coming up on TikTok all the time. And somebody for one of our anniversaries or birthdays or something, and it was a message from a dear friend, and it was Steven Spielberg, and she burst into tears and was like, "You said you said you would always protect us," and I was like, "Oh shit, where's this going?" And then she went, "And you did, and you kept your promise. You always protected us." And then he's like fucking bubbling away, and she's crying. I'm like, "Oh my god, stop! Stop this!"
I can't bear her in her TV show. I've got to be honest.
She comes across as so fucking pedantic.
It's really bad. But I did see a quick interview that she did with you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember his real name. The guy who played Data in Goonies, because they were in a movie together.
Yeah, Jeff.
No.
Keep on. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I don't know why I got Data and Chunk mixed up. Ki Kwan Hyo.
That's it. The guy everywhere, everything all at once, and he won the Oscar and everything like that.
Oh, and it was amazing.
And so I saw that those two knew each other when they were little, because they were all working on the same movies at the same time. Like he was in Indiana Jones, she was doing E.T. It was all very
Oh, same. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had the kids in the sort of same areas and things like that, and so they knew each other growing up. And he was like, "Oh, I had a massive crush on you when we were little," but she seems very affected, and I don't think I could be around that for very long. But going back to Heather,
Yeah. So Heather became ill in 1987.
Mhm.
I don't know how to pronounce this word. Gaia Dias? Gaia Gia Diasis. I'm gonna spell it. Giardiasis. Yeah. So she got diagnosed with that. But they then said it's not this, it's Crohn's disease.
Mhm.
And that's where the problem is.
Now the other one that I heard
Okay.
was that she got ill through drinking well water. Now I know this is not true, but it's one of the many, many different bullshittery stories that I saw.
My next one says that. Yeah. Because I just took snippets from different bits of what they subsequently said she had. But Crohn's disease was the one that they end up with.
Yes.
So whatever it wasn't, but it was Crohn's disease, but it wasn't. But I don't know what she because she got flu-like symptoms, and then she died.
It basically boiled down to the fact of one of two things. They said it was a blockage.
That's
Now,
right.
yeah. Now the blockage they think was ulcerative colitis, and
Yes.
she got an infection, and the ulcer became so big it caused an obstruction. When it popped, she went into septic shock.
Yeah.
The infection took over her body, and she passed away from that, which is very too close to home for me right now. But that's the realisticness of a 12-year-old being struck with something that an adult body can handle.
Yeah.
But a 12-year-old cannot.
And they are giving her steroid injections that are not actually treating her in the slightest, potentially making her worse. This girl had a cardiac arrest while in surgery. She is 12 years old. That is how fucking damaged her heart is. It cannot take her being under anesthetic.
She went under. Her entire body basically failed. And I'm trying not to explain this as what happens to a 12-year-old. This is just what happens to anybody
Yeah.
that has been put in a situation where their body's so riddled with infection due to the fecal matter leaking into the body fluids and the tears and the rips from when the ulcer popped, basically. So you've got to think your body will slowly shut down, your kidneys, your liver, and this doesn't happen. This can happen quickly, or it could be agonizing and happen over a long period of time. It just entirely depends how your body fights it, your immune system, how well it's equipped to do that. But I think with Heather it was pretty quick, because they got a call. The director of 3, he'd gone into editing. They'd technically finished the film, but they knew they had reshoots to do. And he said that he got a call and they said that Heather had passed away, and they hadn't even realized that it was what Crohn's had, that as far as they knew, she had Crohn's, because that's the story that she was told by the doctors. So when he said that we found out she died, I was like, how do you die of Crohn's disease? He was like, I don't understand. And they were like, no, she went into complete renal, kidney, liver, fucking heart failure. Just her entire body gave up on it. And he's like, so he point blank, and all of the guys point blank refused to go back and finish the film. They were like, we're not doing it. He was a pallbearer of Heather's coffin, because Heather loved him so much. On the third one, she came up to him and she sat on his lap and she said, I think I like you. We're friends now. And he was like, from that moment, he said, that was it. I just knew. She was like, I had this like fatherly instinct to look after her. And he said we point blank refused to go and shoot any kind of like film, ending to the film to do the reshoots or anything like that. He said, but then Warner Brothers reminded us we were all under contract and we didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's the sticker, isn't it?
Yeah, so
That's how we'll get you.
He's like, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I'd never shoot this movie in a million years. If it meant that I never met Heather, but she was still alive, he said, I would take that risk. He said, but the bullshit ending you see now of RoboCop's partner holding the Heather double and Tom Skerritt standing next to her, he said it was the most surreal experience because he knew Heather was dead, yet he saw a blonde girl with long blonde hair looking exactly like her being cuddled by the same cast. He said it just gave me this ick level that I couldn't quantify. He said, and it messed me up for a very, very long time. He says, so that's why you get that bullshit dog shit ending, because we had to go back and reshoot because we didn't have a choice.
Can't even imagine what that could do to another human being. There's been a couple of occasions where movies have had to continue on without cast members there. Famously, The Crow, Brandon Lee. And what blew my mind is that I'm going to get this out because I find this so interesting. I always, and you probably heard the same thing, that so many people had to stand in to do reshoots because there was only two scenes, sorry, where they needed to do reshoots, and it's where he's standing on top of the building and the crow's next to him. It's just a back shot, so very easy to replicate or to do without him. And the other one is him walking into the house. Now, what they do so we got told like Johnny Depp was replaced him and this, that, and the other. No, what they did is they put a woman with the same hair on top of a building with a leather coat on. It was a woman who's standing on there, and the other one was CGI. So if you watch closely, when Brandon Lee is walking through, when he's walking through an alleyway and he's bent over, it's exactly the same way he walks into his apartment because that is the footage they used, and they superimposed his face because they needed the makeup to not be there.
They comp shot, right? Okay, yeah, they comp shotted the thing. I have
Exactly.
an affinity now. I have got really obsessed with this thing called Corridor Crew on YouTube, and basically they explain the ins and outs of how CGI is used in movies, and they'll rate whether they're bad or good, and they explain the difference between composition shots and all the types of CGI shots you use, and they'll even sit there and say, well, this is rubbish, or there was no need for this to be CGI. And they're very over analytical, but they've got over 1 million subscribers.
Wow.
Absolutely brilliant. And they have like stuntman reacts, CGI guys react, and they explain how certain shots are done. And they to this day they have this thing where one will introduce a movie to the other two and they'll react and they'll say, right, how do you think that was done? So the other two have to explain how they would have done it or how they think it was done to the other one.
That's so cool.
Sometimes watching them when they realize it's actual practical effects and not CGI, they cannot fathom in their brain how they got there.
Wow.
And it's quite interesting to watch because they're not, I wouldn't say they're not young and they're not old. I'd say they're, by old, I mean my age. But I think they're like mid-30s, maybe a bit older, maybe late 30s.
So to us, they're young.
Yeah. So they've got the ability to have had one foot in the practical effects world and one foot in the CGI, but I think because they are so in this world, immersed in this world, for them they don't really see it that much. But yeah, the weird thing about Heather, it's not weird, but I sent you the photo. I've actually visited her grave.
That's not weird.
On more than one occasion, not out of purposefulness, but I went on a dearly departed death tour with Mr. Scott himself, and they take you to the Pierce Brothers, which is the Westwood Village Cemetery. Memorial. And in there is Betty Page, Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, Dominique
Dunn. She's next to Heather
O'Rourke, and now you have Hugh Hefner next to.
I knew that. I knew that from a long time ago.
It was blank when I went, The couple
Yeah,
of
it will
times
have
I've
been.
been, it was blank because obviously he hadn't passed away, but you had this blank space, and now Hugh's
Do you
in
know?
there.
Do you know who's below Hugh? Who will be below Hugh? Madonna.
Ugh.
Yeah. So yeah, I always knew for many years that he bought the lot. He bought the plot, sorry, next door to Marilyn.
He
And
paid
it
for her plot as well, so it's like,
oh, I did not actually know that.
yeah, he paid because she had no money when she
Well, I
died.
knew that.
So
I knew she was on the bones of her ass, but
yeah, he paid to have her interred at the
hey,
cinema at the cemetery, but on the condition that he was had to have the one above her or below her or to the
no,
side.
it's to the side of her because the person who has the above her in his will wrote that he had to be in his coffin face down.
Oh
So
no.
it's a true story.
So disgusting.
So forever he will be, and they did it. They flipped him because I have the book of the person who did the embalming of Marilyn, who also did his funeral as well. It's a really good book actually, and unfortunately it was Scott who because he interviewed him, and then he was like, and look at this book, and I was like, well, I've clearly got to have the book, yeah, and they flipped him because they
Yeah.
did the service with him the right way around, and then just before he went in, they flipped him over. But that plot is worth a lot of money. So what
Those
did his wife do? Yanked him out and put herself in there.
nice. Good. Yeah, it's like when you actually walk around, this is the most everybody knows the Forever Young cemetery because it's the one that you see the most. It's the one with the big mausoleums and the rivers and the lakes and the
Beautiful.
where they do the cinema. You can go
Yeah, it's
movies there, and I've never been in that one. It's literally across the road from where the deathly departed building used to be, but we never went in there. We were always on the tour, so you get on the bus and you get taken around places,
yeah,
and we always end up at the Westwood Village. And like I say, it is the strangest cemetery you've ever been to because you have office block, office block, office block all the way around it,
yeah.
and there's just this big patch
In the middle.
in the middle where they're all just like headstones. And then you have the mausoleum-y type ones, which is where Marilyn is, which is where Heather is. Dean Martin's there. Marilyn, obviously Marilyn Betty. You start looking around and it is literally the who's who. And you forget that there's some mega money in this in
Oh, is there?
section that is no bigger than a quarter of a mile big. It's like maybe 2 acres at the most. It's like they have crammed every who's who of Hollywood you can
Oh my
think of
God,
in
yeah.
this tiny space. But it's nice to know that Dominique is looking after Heather.
She's right next to each other. I have seen and watched that much Hollywood Graveyard. I feel like I know that if I was to walk, I would know where I'm going, who I'm seeing. It's the same with the other one. What is it? Holy Cross Cemetery.
You've got quite a few, but I think that yeah, I think there's about 3 or 4 in the
Well,
vicinity.
Holy Cross, or Holy Cross, sorry, is where Baylor is, where I'm sure Vampire is there. I could be wrong.
No vampires at Westwood.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I can picture where Jack Lemmon's grave is because it's near Farrah Fawcett
Yeah,
because they
you
all have,
basically
and
you
Kirk Douglas is there.
it's so weird. You're coming down this like you've got this little walkway and a tarmac. You've got one tarmac road that just literally goes around in a square and back out again. And as you come in, you've got a whole side of grass that I don't think has got many on it, or they've not used it just yet, or they're starting to.
Yeah.
But on the big white marble wall, that's where Heather is. On just as you walk up, it's the first wall there. And then as you go around, you get the mausoleum-y type, the big marble slabs, and then you go to the actual graves down on one side, which is all like Jack and Farah and everything,
I will get there.
which is what a roundabout would be to us. You have that's where Betty Page is and all those guys. So it's yeah, it's a strange thing to think a child's grave from 3 films was held in such a regard that she's literally Heather's here, Marilyn is there.
Yeah. It's
Right.
like imagine a wall So you've got one wall here, and then you've got it kind of like goes down into another one, and she is literally on this wall here.
behind her. It's it.
Uh-huh. It because you've got Marilyn's bench. Oh my God. I haven't even been. You've got Marilyn's bench, which is just in front of her. Marilyn, you would honestly think she would have this huge monument. Have you ever seen is Betty Davis in Memorial Park? She is, isn't she? Because she has a huge one, but hers is a big family plot. So it's like there's quite a few in there, but it's huge and it's statues and oh, that's what you'd think Marilyn would have. So to see her on this, just what, and her plates have been exchanged so many times because fuckers keep kissing. Oh, stop
I
kissing.
sent you the photo of her grave, didn't I? That I took, and it's covered in red
Covered.
lipstick.
I get the gesture, I really do, but I don't think you appreciate how much they cost. It's like when I went to see Oscar Wilde in Paris, they've now got plexiglass around it, and the family have had to put a message on saying, we need you to stop, kiss the plexiglass, do all you, but not the stone. The stone is, it's it's a lot of money to have to keep constantly having this stone because it's not like a case of you can go in and just get a mop, and just wash it off. You've got there's treatments that need to be done, and they were like, we just need just stop kissing it. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I get the sentiment, I really do. And honestly, she probably would have loved it, I would imagine. But yeah, be a bit respectful for your graves. When you sent us the first picture, I knew exactly who. I didn't even have to look at it. I knew exactly whose it was. And Dominique is literally just Heather, Dominique, like they're right next to each other. Purposefully, don't know. But who cares? Then, if the spirit world is true, they'll be right next to each other.
They're looking after each other at least. So
Oh God, I couldn't even imagine if like heaven was real, and who died first?
Dominique.
Dominique, and then Dominique sees Heather coming in. So the fuck? Like, how are you here? The thing is with Heather, it's such a sad thing because she had the right connections. She had a good work ethic behind her. She had a mother who was, I don't dare say this woman was a stage mom. I don't want to say that because I don't want to say that because I do get some really nice vibes from her. But I just think she would, I don't know. You can't say what the future would have held for her, but I would like to think that it would have been, she would have been okay. And she could have been okay.
I do know that the mum proceeded to sue the hospital
And rightly so.
for negligence, misdiagnosis, and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if she won or not. I
She
think
did.
she did.
She did. Undisclosed figure. So that
Yeah.
means it was a lot of fucking money.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And that would be down to the provenance of who they killed. Little
Oh.
Joe from round the corner would not be offered the same amount of money that Heather O'Rourke's mother was being offered.
No. The medical board actually said when they looked into her case, what she had, it would have been a pill that she would have taken for the rest of her life, had a few digestive discomforts. That would have been it. It should never have escalated to where that poor little girl lost her life.
A simple course of antibiotics would have reduced the inflammation of the cyst or the ulcer that was growing. If it still was to have popped, her body would have been equipped because it would have had the antibodies from the antibiotics in it to be able to have fought any bacteria that was created in her gut that ultimately spread and killed her and caused body organ failure. So completely preventable death. Was it part of the curse of Poltergeist? No, it fucking wasn't.
No, fucking wasn't. No, it was complete and utter fucking negligence on a Californian hospital who just didn't do their fucking job properly. And unfortunately, Heather had to pay the price for it. Speaking of paying the price, I'm gonna have to do it. Gonna have to do it. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I'm gonna try and keep my my temper in control with this one because I do get very heated and very animated. I've put my hands in my pockets so I don't talk with my hands because we're going to talk about Dominique Dunn. And I said to Dan last week, when we talk about her, we do it fucking justice. We do not sugarcoat any of it. Not one bit of it. Because it doesn't it doesn't deserve, he doesn't deserve, and I'll say his name once and once only. She was murdered by her ex-partner, John Sweeney. That's the fucking last time I'll say his name.
Yeah, he do you know the weirdest thing for me about all this was when she was in Poltergeist, she was 21 years old.
Yeah.
21. She did not look 21. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
No,
I'm not
no.
point of her playing a younger character because obviously she wasn't looking, but the amount of things she achieved from the age of 17 to 21
Yeah.
before she filmed this was insane. I'm not talking about like TV or movie credits because she had the ability to step in that at any time from the provenance of her family alone. She was another one who was afforded
Is a Nepo baby.
but she went off on her own. She went to Italy. She studied in Italy.
Mhm.
She went and studied British history and art. She studied Italian. There was an endless list of what she studied. And then ultimately she decided she was in love with art, but she was also in love with the arts and she
Yeah.
wanted to try. But she came to expand her mind. Like she spent 3 years of her life 3 to 4 years of her life traveling by herself and just created this entire wealth of knowledge that a 17 to 21-year-old these
No.
days would not have. They'd rather be in the
No.
park getting pissed on Perno or whatever 2020
Yeah.
stuff is they're doing. And from that, the fact that she wanted to stand on her own 2 feet due to she being a Nepo baby gives a whole nother lease of the side of the story to me because she was clearly a
She was trying
very
to go
intelligent
somewhere.
person.
She was
Very
she was good.
intelligent.
She was going to go somewhere. She was just trying to find her feet
Mm.
because for all that she'd done what Dan said, she knew she wanted to go into acting. She just didn't know what side of the coin she wanted to be on. So, and in all honesty, everything that I watched, she auditioned. So she didn't get in there because Dominique Dunne is the daughter of Dominic Dunne, who is a writer. Is he an actor?
I don't think he did any notable acting that I am aware of. Not to say that he hadn't popped into something
No.
there, but he's most famously a producer, director, and writer, but not a writer of films, of journalist. You know, he's
He's
like a journalistic kind of writer.
yeah, and he famously wrote for Vanity Fair
Yes,
for a long, 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 long time. She is also the sister of Griffin Dunn.
correct.
If we all know Griffin Dunn, and we all know our horror history, he is in American Werewolf in London, amongst other things. He's also he was Carrie Fisher's first.
Yes, she only
She was
married once, and that was Paul Simon, but Griffin Dunn was her first boyfriend.
no, her first.
Yeah, her
They,
first.
they weren't they classed themselves as boyfriend and girlfriend. They really weren't. She was in a lifestyle of her mother's shows, and her mother was like, listen, you need to get laid because you just need to get it out the way with, and the awkwardness, it just goes away. That's what, like, this is on the documentary that I watched that came out just before they died, and she's sitting talking to Griffin, and she just was like, and I just rang you and said, can you do the honors? And he's like, why not? So yeah, Griffin Dunn was her first. A very beautiful relationship them two have. It was sickeningly beautiful.
I think the Nepo baby world all knew each other anyway. You know, that's
Yeah, because they had something in common. They all had famous parents. They all had that kind of like, ugh, my parents are famous. Um, but yeah, they had such a beautiful relationship. But yeah, so Dominique comes from some good stock.
she does, but sad upbringing because her mum and her dad divorced when she was
Yes.
quite young. Due to two factors. One, her mum ended up in a wheelchair due to
She
MS
was very
or
poorly.
yeah. And her father was determined to lead this life of parties and Hollywood elite.
Yeah.
And there was no room for an ill person in
No,
life.
no, how if you so when all this when all this happens to Dominique. The best way that that Dominic Dunn knows how to tell you how he feels is by writing about it. And he did this beautiful article for Vanity Fair. And he's very honest and he's very open and he tells you every detail, every the things you don't want to have pictured in your head, he is telling you because you need to know what happened to his daughter and the miscarriage of justice that happened to his child. And every time he talks about his ex-wife, he is very loving about it, very caring. It doesn't come across that they ended on bad terms, or if they did, fuck it. This is bigger than that. Because he was very accommodating to the fact that she was incredibly poorly.
Yeah.
And he took a hit for her in a lot of things when it came down to Dominique.
Yeah. I mean,
So
having also passed that house, not out of choice, again, part of that tour, they take you past the house. So I've seen the house 2 or 3 times.
then you have seen the place she died because it was right on her driveway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you really do a deep dive, which I know you have done, but for the people at home that haven't, they explain a lot about the last moments, about how it ended up on the front, about the door not letting him in, him making his way in, him chasing her around the house, and making the calls to try and get her out, calling her mother. There's a long list of stuff that he pulled to try and get her outside.
And she had someone inside with her.
She did.
And he was
learning
terrified.
For the TV series that she'd just been cast in, which also had Robert Englund in, which was V.
Yes.
She had just been cast in that. She was learning the lines with her co-host, and that's what they were doing inside. And yeah.
But so she meets this fucker, who is a sous chef in quite a very,
very, very prestigious
ma maison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's he's okay. He can cook. But she's starting to do television. Because, like I say, she's trying to figure out where she is. And she does a couple of episodes of Hill Street Blues. Oh, have you seen it, Dan? Have you seen the pictures of her?
Not in that, but there's 2 things. I grew up on a heavy diet of Hill Street Blues. My mum was obsessed with Hill Street Blues when I was a kid. So she'd sent off and got loads of autographs. So there was like this drawer full of autographs from the cast.
Amazing.
Then I also have, because I am one of these people who fall asleep to Family Guy and American Dad on ITV2 every night. So Seth MacFarlane's voice is what makes me calm and sends me to sleep, right? So whenever I hear Hill Street Blues, all I hear is Hill Street Blues, Hill Street Blues. I've got those Hill Street Blues. And this is it's Lois and her dad singing it over and over again on the piano, and it just sticks with me every time. So earlier when I heard that she'd done Hill Street Blues and they were showing the pictures all night, that has been an earworm for me. So thank you, Seth MacFarlane. I appreciate it.
Well, she did Hill Street Blues, and so she'd been seeing this dickhead for a long time, and it was abusive, very, very abusive. But when it started to become public knowledge is when she does the episode for Hill Street Blues, because she comes in black and blue. Ironically, she is actually playing a teenage mother who is a victim of parental abuse. The makeup department didn't have to touch her. So when you see Dominique Dunn in Hill Street Blues, you are looking at the bruises that twat left on her.
Mm-hmm. The psychological aspect, I cannot imagine what she was going through. Whilst I understand, there's a 2-prong attack that I can see it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is that the makeup department took one look at her and thought, the world needs to see this. This needs, if this is how if she hasn't got a voice,
maybe this is the step.
This is her way of having her voice, right? By letting people see it.
Yeah.
Or they looked and went, fuck, she looks fine. That's great. Saved us a job. Get on. No budget there. Do you know what I mean? And
I would like to think that they kind of took a look and went, let her go on like that. Let the world see and let everyone know this is real. And let the world see what this man's done to her. Maybe this will be the starting point of healing, of her getting away from him. And it kind of did, because she did leave him. She started and she moved on. She moved out of their house. She moved into her own house. She got the miniseries V. Things were starting to look up. And she was in Halloween. Was it Halloween? It was this is how I know. Oh, this is so sad. This is how I know. Dominique was strangled on the 31st of October, but died on the 4th of November.
Mm-hmm.
I was married on the 31st of October, but my wedding certificate, due to a fuck up at the registry, says the 4th of November. That's how I remembered. Yeah, so this one night he comes to the house and, like Dan said, he tries to get her out of it. Each way that he...
The tactics of this man used are, I would go above and beyond saying obsessive. I think he created a whole new category of sheer
horrendousness.
fuckery. I don't even know what to call it, because I feel like it doesn't do justice to what the hell he put her through on that final night.
It must have been horrible. It must have been horrible. And she did have somebody in the house with her, but as she did probably 100 times before, made shit ton of excuses up for, it's okay, it's going to be fine, he'll go away, this, that, and the other. The guy who was in the house, I always thought it was Miguel Ferreira. Miguel Ferreira was he was actually at a funeral, and I think he was a pallbearer, because like the Clooneys and, you know, like we said, Nepo babies stick together. But yeah, so what was that? So yes, he does get her out of the house because she's kind of like had enough at this point. I don't think she realized what was going to happen next. Maybe she thought she was going to get beaten up like she had done previously before, but he didn't. He put his fucking hands around her neck and he strangled her. She didn't die straight away. Like I said, she died on November 4th. And if you read Dominic Dunn's article in the Vanity Fair, it describes how, you know, she had to have all of her hair shaven off.
Yep.
And she was on breathing tubes, and she was unrecognizable to the point where he had to shield her mother from looking at her. Couldn't let her see her like that.
To get graphic, because they had to relieve the pressure on her brain by drilling a screw into her head, right? So the first time he'd seen his daughter after the attack, she had hand marks around her throat, really bad bruising around there. They'd literally shaved most of her head. She had a screw sticking out of it because of the pressure. Now that sounds harsh, and it's probably not what you're imagining in your head.
No.
To relieve the pressure, but at this point, after he'd strangled her, now strangulation isn't an easy thing to do, and this is the thing that gets me when you see these people who say, oh, it was a crime of passion, it was just in the moment. No, it takes 5 to 6 minutes to strangle someone to death, and that is fact. It's not I'll strangle you movie, 10 seconds and you're gone. No, that applied pressure for that long as well, the rage you have to have in your body to keep that level of pressure up to either break a neck or completely cut the oxygen supply off. And she died of anoxic encephalopathy, right, which means brain death. It means starving of oxygen to the brain, which led to complete brain death. And her eyes were open when Dominic went in there.
Oh yeah,
her eyes were open, and he thought she was staring at him, but she wasn't.
There was nothing behind them. He shielded a lot from my mother, but that absolute knob jockey rang the police. He did actually turn himself in and said, I've killed my girlfriend and I'm going to try and kill myself. Well, you should have fucking done it.
Well, he knew he was in a position where she was a name, the family had a name,
and they had money.
But not just that, you can't get away. There was a witness, because he came out. I mean, I know that the friend came out and was like, go away, and then he was like threatening to shoot him. and threatening to hurt him. And so he went back in, and he was like, he kept saying to Dominique, we need to call the police. And she was like, no, go away, like you say. And then there was the whole thing where he called her mother to get her mother to call her to tell her that he was going to hurt her, or the tactics were absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Just to get her to come out, and think it was something to do with her mother that finally made her leave the house to talk to him.
Because she was getting sick, because it was because our mum's poorly. She doesn't need that kind of stress. It was actually the actor David Packer who was in the house that he was completely fucked up after that. Like, oh God, how do you come back from that? Like, he had no idea what was going on outside because there wasn't any screaming to start with. It was just silent, and this is why nobody intervened. You know what the motherfucker said while he was in the car to the policeman? He says, I fucked up. I can't believe I did something that will put me behind bars forever. Man, I blew it. I killed her. I don't think I choked her that hard. I just kept on choking her. If there's another fucking narcissistic comment I've ever heard, he's more worried about him fucking self going to prison. Well, guess what? I want to spoil it for you because he fucking didn't.
Well,
kind of technically he did, but not as long as what he should have.
No, and this is the level of petty that I aspire to. What that family did after that, and I honestly take my hat off to that they handled that with such dignity.
Yes.
Yeah, a level of petty that I think is respectable in any which way. So
yeah,
he basically did 2.5 years of a 8-year sentence, 6-year sentence, something like that.
It was horrific. They shouldn't.
Yeah,
he got manslaughter.
Yeah, and got given a really shit sentence in the first place, which was 6 to 8 years or something like that, for the second-degree murder or manslaughter or whatever it was of Dominique. Now,
he was charged with first-degree murder. He pleaded not guilty. His lawyers argued that the chef had not planned to hurt Dominique and acted in a heat of passion after a frustrating conversation. Fuck off, man. And the judge, lack of sufficient evidence. Yeah, and he got a fucking really shit sentence. It was he was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. He served 2. He served 2.
Yep.
Take away the fact that he took away an aspiring actress's life and career away from her. Take that all out of context. Take that away. He took a fucking 20-odd-year-old away from her family. She was very fucking close with her family. And, like, it annoys the shit out of us. But I am going to let you tell the masses what the Dunn family decided to do when I'm not just about to say his name there, when he got out of prison.
He decided in his infinite wisdom that he would go back to doing what he knew, to becoming a sous chef, to becoming just a chef,
because his life gets to continue, but okay.
Yeah, so he goes around and he gets himself a job in another very prestigious restaurant. Whether he fessed up to who he was or whether he was under a fake name, I still don't know. However, they find this out, the Dunn family, and they proceed to inform everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean news outlets, the people that run the restaurant, the families of people that work in the restaurant. We are talking, they literally find out every bit of information they possibly can and tell all these people what he did.
They didn't just do that. What they did was they used to print flyers out and said the food you will eat tonight was cooked by the hands that killed Dominic Dunn.
That was what they did just after, because basically they'd informed everybody that worked with him. They did this blanket campaign, and then they would spend hours standing there handing out flyers outside the restaurant. And so eventually he quit and he ran away like a little bitch that he is. And then somebody came forward about a year or so later.
It was in 2008.
Was it really?
Yeah. So it was a year before Dominic died. He left Los Angeles in the 90s, and fucked off into obscurity, and that's when Dominic had to go. I'm gonna have to let this go now.
Yeah.
I got to move on. I guess it gave him a bit of
Yeah.
Yeah, give him a bit of a purpose, a bit of a fight, but once he was gone, what do you do then? But yeah, it was 2008, um, that somebody contacted him and said, "Is the man who killed your daughter?" Mm-hmm. Because my child is seeing him.
Yeah.
So
And
so what did he do? Contacted her.
yeah,
He contacted her and he told her everything.
what I mean, it's this level of, it doesn't seem petty. It's not, when I say petty, I don't mean the cause behind it is petty. It's just the sheer, the thing is, Dominic does this with such respect. It's not something where he rings them up and goes, "You're a fucking idiot. You're dating this girl, you killed my wife, and you're a fucking idiot." He doesn't handle it like that. He's like, "Right, can you tell me about him? What does he look like? You know, what is his manner like? Has he lost his temper?" And he had a conversation with this person,
Yeah.
and he just handles it very, very well. And I mean, that'll be the journalistic side to him because he's
Reedy's
trying to get information,
Yeah,
obviously.
read his article because it's breathtaking. I got some dates mixed up there, I'm sorry. So following the protests, he leaves. That's in the 80s.
Mhm.
In the 90s, in the late 90s, that's when this Florida man reached out to Dominic over the article that he wrote for Vanity Fair and asked if this twat was engaged to his daughter was the same man who served time for his daughter. And that's when Griffin got on the phone and was like, "Yeah, you need to get away from him." And this is where he got his real name.
Mhm.
Not real name, but the name he had been using.
Yeah.
So years go by. Dominic does actually, I'm done. But however, Dominic died in 2009. In 2007, he hired a private investigator to track him down, because he changed his name to John Mora. Um, but they couldn't find him. And then that's when Dominic had to officially say, "I am done."
Mhm.
And he says, "I don't know where he is. I don't want to know where he is. It's much healthier."
Yeah,
But
probably.
I guess he kind of like had it in his mind that if he hires a private investigator, maybe he wasn't ready at the time. Maybe he needed the private investigator to say, "I can't find him," to be like, "Okay, if he can't find him, then I can't find him, and he's out of my fucking life for good."
Yeah, I mean, there's been a bit of a resurgence about Dominic Dunn again
Hmm.
through the fact that um Ryan, what's his name, that did Glee and American Horror Story, he
Murphy.
that's the one. He recently did Monsters, the Eric and Lyle Menendez story, didn't he?
He did.
And the person that covered that was Dominic Dunn. He
Yes, he
covered
did.
he covered the whole trial. Nathan Lane played him
Oh,
in
really?
this mini series. So people became acquainted with Dominic through this again. So it's
Hmm.
given people another, not another, but new people. It's introduced new people to the whole
Hmm.
Dominic thing, and it's given the whole story another kind of like wash through. Which wherever that piece of shit is,
Hope he's dead.
well, same. But I hope he's feeling miserable because it's having another resurgence and people are knowing more about her. And
Do you know what? I hope for however long he's been on this world, he has been tortured every single day, in one way or the other, mentally, physically. I couldn't give a shit fucking either way. I you can't say you're a big fan of Dominique Dunn because we didn't get enough of her to have that effect. But you can see, I know Dana doesn't play the biggest part in Poltergeist, but there is something very special about that girl because you remember her, you know who she is. And then you go on to see other stuff that she's done, and it was a lot of television. And then, but then you find out about her, and it's like you get this whole level of like this person, and then this,
mm,
and it's I don't know why she does have like that little effect on us, and every now and again I will go back and read the Vanity Fair because I don't want to forget. It's such a good article. I can't stress enough how much you should read it. It's just, even if just to get an idea of how Dominic writes, because
Yeah.
it is elegantly put.
Well, I know that for a long time after the first movie, because obviously Dominique died so close to the movie was premiered in the May and she died in the November, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So because it happened so near, the press consistently pressed all of the actors and directors into talking about, they wanted to know about the curse, what was the curse, blah 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 blah. And it got to the point where Zelda Rubinstein, who played Tangina,
Yeah.
had enough. She stayed completely quiet. She didn't want any part of it. She was like, I will not do interviews. I won't talk to anybody. I'm not interested in any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But she broke down one day and she was like, right, get me on the TV. I will talk to you about it. So they did an interview with her and she sat there and she went, if you think two people's tragic deaths have cursed this movie, this franchise, she said, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks that two children's deaths have caused a curse,
Mm-hmm.
where do you live? She actually ended up getting she suffered with real bad depression after these movies,
I'm not
Zelda.
surprised.
She had lived an interesting life, did Zelda. She, at 46, she decided that she didn't want to be a lab technician anymore, and she went into acting, and this was her second movie.
I love that. I love one of the lines that she does when the about to go and jump into the door, and she's like, "Pass, Stephen, pass me the rope." And then the mother turns around and is like, "She'll not come to you. She won't know who you are," because she's like fighting her, saying, "No, I've got to do this." And she's like, "But she won't come to you." And she's like, "You're right. You go." I love that line.
Yeah.
That delivery is brilliant.
And it was only a second film.
Oh,
And that was the thing, And then, did you know there was an Oscar winner in the midst in this movie?
no.
Yes, and it's not who you think. Of all of
Huh?
the cast in this film, she had a very specific role. Mrs. Leash, however you pronounce it. Her name was Beatrice Straight, and she was an Oscar winner. She won an Oscar for a movie called The Network in 1976,
Hmm.
but it was in the Guinness Book of Records for the shortest performance to ever win an Oscar.
How long was she on screen?
I couldn't find it out.
Oh no!
But yeah, she is an Oscar winner. I was looking
Wow.
at all of the others to see, where they were. And
Yeah.
obviously, Jo Beth Williams has been Oscar nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Craig T. Nelson's won Primetime Emmys because he went into TV and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
really, there was not much from that respect going forward. So
No.
I was like, oh, that was just a little tidbit that I thought was quite nice. I mean, really to do with the other stuff in the big grand scheme of things to do with curses. There's a rumor that the kid that played Robbie, the clown malfunctioned when he takes him under the bed and he actually really did choke him out. Again, not 100% sure how true that was. The other thing that they're now classing to the curse, but bearing in mind it's 2025, this film came out in 82. You cannot, well, the film that's relevant was Poltergeist 2. So you can't call this part of the curse. I'm sorry, you can't. The house that was the main house in the second Poltergeist was recently burned down in the Altadena fires in LA.
No.
So
No, you can't.
there's no trace of it. The actual original
That's sad.
Poltergeist house that's in the first one, the Freelings house from the first one, is an Airbnb that they have now changed into a movie Airbnb, which you
They've had
can't go
to.
and stay in. Because
Because
people,
the residents were fucking sick of yous.
I mean, with all due respect, drive past it, take a photo. You don't need to get out and do an entire YouTube on their front garden.
It's
Like,
the guys from Breaking Bad that really gets me, that they have signs like "fuck off, get away from our house." Stop chucking pizzas off me roof.
see, there's two things I can understand. You can understand opening your fucking window every day to somebody standing and invading your
Mhm.
property, right? I get that.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking naffed off. However, If I'm buying a house that I know has that kind of provenance, you have to expect it. So would it not be wise to capitalize on it?
Exactly.
Yes.
The people who own the Halloween house, what
Yep.
do? They leave you pumpkins on so you can have a photo shoot outside the house, and they also are fine with you being next to the long-standing bush that goes along. They have a whole bit set up so people can come and have their little moment, but not interfere with their home.
Yeah. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is now a cafe.
Excellent. Well, gotta
The
go there.
Yeah, there's another lot of people that did used to, which is not a horror movie, but when you go to the Goonies place, when you go to Mikey and
Bran.
Bran's place, that house that's up on the stalks
Yeah.
in Astoria, the new people that bought it decided to put great big 12-foot panels all the right way around it so people couldn't take photos or get on the
Oh,
property.
that's a dick move. I've
I
seen a lot of
think,
people who've been going there recently.
yeah, I think they might have sold up and someone else has taken it over now, but I understand to a degree because my thing is I'd hate that as a person who is incredibly not private. I haven't got things to hide, but I like my own space, and this is
Yeah.
my four walls are my palace,
Hmm.
and I don't want people coming in. And people do take liberties. The gates are shut. There's no reason for you to come behind that gate. You're not
Yeah.
coming up to my front door to knock on my door,
Yeah.
so you shouldn't come over that gate unless you have the intention of knocking on my door. At which, why the fuck are you knocking on my door? Because I'm not going to be doing the shuffle for you. I can assure you that much. So I can understand the want of the privacy, but then
Yeah.
don't buy a bloody house that has been so iconic in
Get it.
so many
Yeah.
for so many years.
Exactly. I always get a bit cringy when I see like the likes of not cringy, just like I get worried and anxious when I see the likes of like Scott on Tape, Grimlight Collective, and they're walking around these places, even Scott Michaels, and like they're walking around. I'm like, oh my God, should you be there? Like I wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I don't like it. I've got to be honest, but it saves us going. So I suppose their embarrassment is our gain in it.
Yeah, it's when they go to Brentwood, when they go to Marilyn's house. So Marilyn's house is like to walk up the street, you wouldn't think that these beautiful houses are behind these doors and these because it's just white I don't even know how to describe it because it's nothing like what we would have here. It's up a hill, it's got houses everywhere, there's like all these white fences and garages, and then all of a sudden you have this metal gray door that has a tiny little slant here, and if you look in, there is her Brentwood home, the home she died in. And the amount of people I have seen, and you can see they've all got fucking ring doorbells now. Like they're all everywhere. And I'm like, oh, no, leave. And like when people go up to Celia Drive, which I know is not there anymore, the house is not there, but people still go to the street. And I'm like, oh my God, no, don't, oh,
And the
leave.
Manson thing, right? That's another one. The Manson murders, the Sharon Tate house, when they used to go up there, they completely demolished it now, if I remember
Yeah.
rightly.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's flattened.
All that was left at one point was just the fireplace. It
Because
was
the fireplace wasn't hers. It was the original owner kind of built her whole house around this fireplace. So to get rid of it, I think it was, I don't know if they could or couldn't, or if they wanted to or not.
Mm,
It had nothing to do with her. I always remember the story of Trent Reznor taking the door that had pig written on it.
mm,
He owns that. Because he did Downward Spiral
mm.
and he recorded Downward Spiral in that house.
Yeah, it's all very strange. Like dark tourism, right? I don't have a problem with dark tourism because I've done it myself.
Obsessed.
However, be respectful.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
I
it's
think
a
that's
house that's in a community that is clearly a very quiet community,
mhm.
you don't need to get out of your car,
No,
your
that
window, take a photo, move on. You don't need to go knocking on the neighbours' doors to ask them questions.
no.
You become a nuisance and then you make
Yeah.
it hard for anybody else to enjoy stuff. So just be respectful.
Yeah.
That's all you need to be when it comes to stuff like this. Just be respectful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got one last one, and I'm just going to quickly glaze over it
Yep.
because,
Yeah.
time. Lou Perryman,
Mhm.
who was he in the film or worked on the film?
He was in the film. He
Oh,
played
that's right. We've already had this conversation. Sorry, my
Played the
apologies.
guy in the first one who can be seen drinking her coffee and eating her food through the window, and she catches him and she tells him off and she drops the blind on him.
Yeah. Yes,
Hugs,
that's right.
I think his name
He was also a film crew member on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the sequel Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but he also played the LG radio station manager in Texas Chainsaw 2. Fucking brilliant film. We will be doing it at some point. Just saying. He was in 2009, at 67 years old, axed to death by Seth Christopher Tatum. He was killed in his home in Austin, Texas in 2009. The guy had recently been released from prison on aggravated robbery, got off his meds, been drinking. Perryman got it. So he's been added to the curse.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah. I'm just going to put this out there for all that, and we will be looking at other movies that have the tag cursed on them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not saying that these are cursed movies.
Nope.
That's not the case at all.
No, and I mean, you don't have to listen to our opinion on what you think is cursed and what we think is cursed. At the end of the day, mine is just an opinion. And my opinion is that this movie is not cursed. It's just a succession of shitty things that have happened to people. And I know shitty is an understatement, but you know what I mean? It's just a succession of things. Some of them coincidence, some of them are completely out of any kind of timeline that has anything to do with Poltergeist, other than it was in the years of which the film was filmed, from the first to the end of the third. And then you can't blame the Altadena wildfires from this year on the curse. You can't blame a murder of a cast member in 2007 or 9 or whenever it was. You can't do that.
No.
None of them have any relevance to the film other than the person that died was in it.
Exactly. If you are saying that the curse is because the curse movie caused the death of Dominique Dunn, fuck off.
Yeah, because you are really downplaying
all the way off. You are really downplaying what happened there. You will downplay what happened to Heather O'Rourke. Julian Beck was sick. Will Sampson was sick. Like, fuck that. I did not know that one though. I didn't I knew he was like poorly. I didn't realize like how bad. You downplay everything that these people that have got stories of went through. But it's not to say that we will not look at another cursed movie later on, and kind of it's almost like we're debunking the curse.
See, I like this because you're force-fed narratives all the time in horror. You're being told this is what this is. Yeah, look at all these shitty things that happen to these people. Must be real. Paranormal this. Oh, in other news, that whole thing with Aaron Goodwin's wife.
Oh my god.
I just breaking news here right now.
How did we not talk about this before we came on?
I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of Ghost Adventures, as you well know, because Mr. Hagen's blocked me.
I think the people might know by now our feelings on said program and that person.
However, I've always liked Aaron, right?
Yeah, he's never the bad one.
It doesn't upset me in any way. However, I do feel a bit sorry for him because he does seem to be his puppet, Zach's puppet. However, murder for hire plot, and did you see who she hired to murder him?
Yeah. What? How is he not in prison? How was the guy originally not in prison for what he did?
The gist of what I can see is that Aaron's wife, hired this ex-con who should still be in prison, no matter which way you look at it. He killed 3 people.
Yes.
The mother, the father, and the daughter, because he was spending so much money on webcams to talk to a Russian woman. He needed more money to keep her attention, so he killed his entire family, and used their credit cards to keep talking to this cam girl. He got found out anyway, and he went to prison for it. However,
not fucking long enough, apparently.
She hired him to kill Aaron, allegedly, because it hasn't gone through court yet.
Yeah,
but
allegedly.
Every report that has come out, this is what's happened.
And did you see when they were going to do it? Because he's filming the new series. It was going to be while he was filming. I mean, Zach would have fucking jumped all out of that.
He'd be Ouija boarding in the minute he'd laid on the floor.
The minute.
Hear me.
Like, Aaron, is it real? Is it? Oh, he would. And you can't come for us because he's done it.
He's done it.
He's done it before with
Oh, yeah.
another one of his friends who was murdered by her husband, who
Yes.
then killed himself, and they two had been on the show, and they used her name to say that they were being in contact with her. Oh no, oh no. Do you know what? I actually realised just there now, I kind of wear Zach Bacon's glasses. Have you not noticed?
Yeah.
They look kind of like them, don't they? And honestly, these are my genuine, like, I can't see without these glasses. These are my varifocals. So yeah, just realised they're not a fashion statement in the slightest.
Yeah, I know that Aaron Goodwin's got nothing to do with it, but it was just one of those things that just crossed our path, and it was just like, I beg your pardon. Oh, what now?
I saw it on TikTok and I went, and they didn't want to kill Zach.
Aaron's an easy target. It's either a very terrible publicity campaign for the TV show, at which she must be paid an absolute freaking fortune to be made to look like this, because I can tell you now, if someone said to me, "Oh, management reckons we've got to drum up some publicity for the new series, would you like to look like you want to murder for hire me?"
It's weird.
No.
But it's not out of the stretch of what Zach will do.
Not at all. And that's why I was like, first of all, I was like, bullshit. You know, we have that moment where you just read it and you're like, bullshit. And then the more you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah. No,
Is it? Is it really? We don't know. But it's going to come out. But yeah, I can't believe we didn't talk about it beforehand. anything that's like bacon's off. Yeah. I understand that you have a link.
I may do. I may have done it.
My goodness. What are you doing, Dan?
I don't know. Being organised. 4 steps. 4 steps in this one.
Shit.
I'm not going to get her name right because I always say it wrong. So bear with me a second because I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, for some reason, I always pronounce her name wrong, and I'll get to who she is in a minute.
You're never going to Google on it, are you?
Yes.
Are they going to say it to you?
No, I'm not going to have it said out loud. I just need to read it and then I'll know what it is. Because I feel awful because I don't want to get it wrong because I never say it right.
Oh, at least you take the time to do that. I just blurt out whatever comes in front of my eyes.
Got it. Okay, so James Karen played Mr. Teague, the realtor, in Poltergeist.
Yes.
He also played Frank in 1995's
Yes, he did.
Return of the Living Dead. Linnea Quigley, who was also in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 with Robert Englund. Robert Englund was also in the movie Python with Keith Coogan. Keith Coogan played Brad in Adventures in Babysitting. Or you could just go straight to Dominique was in V with Robert. Robert was in Python with Keith. So
no, I like that. I like that you went a little bit.
I had to get something in there, especially you had that moment when you see Teague turn up and he's all suited and booted.
Yeah.
And Craig T. Nelson, you know, you're aware he's his boss. And it took me a second because when you see him as Frank in this, in Return of the Living Dead, he's the sweaty,
messy,
man. You know what I mean? He's like,
he's never put together right in that movie whatsoever. But in this,
in this, it doesn't take me a second because I always remember in the end. But that initial bit where I look at him and I go, he looks familiar. Oh yeah, and it's just that bit where I'm like.
Well, I had one of those moments
of him on my t-shirt, you know, for God's sake, the man's I have t-shirts with him on. So I
had done it when we did the Night of the Living. I really wish we could have just erased that from episodes and just do it all over again because it was so much fun. But yeah, I had one of those moments where, you know, oh my God, it's him from Poltergeist. I'm sure I actually did that on the episode as well. And you got him. Oh no, that was so good. You did it. Yay.
I thought this one would be easy, so because of the 80s connection, but I didn't realize it would be that easy. So I feel like I should have dragged it out a bit more, but
no, I think I think you
Never
did.
watched that film, Python. It is dog shit. Never mind. Moving on.
I never heard of it. Not really a big Robert England fan. Sorry. No, that's a lie. That's such a lie. I'm just not a Freddy fan. Like, I'm not. I'm trying. I really am trying, but I'm not the biggest Freddy fan.
Save me from the monster that is. Sorry.
Next week.
Yep.
Don't know if you're gonna be able to do it for next week, actually.
Oh, don't set me a challenge because I will.
Tell the people what we're doing next week, Jen.
Well, in
Can
America,
you remember?
in America they call them this, but in England I don't think we really call it
It
this.
would be a very different name, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the shit houses that have their own room that you're not allowed in.
The
Doesn't have the
smokehouse.
same ring, does it?
The smokehouse.
Yeah, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, I feel.
Yeah.
It's still a horror. It's a
Mhm.
sci-fi horror, and we have done sci-fi horrors before. We've done The Thing, we've done some other bits, but
Event Horizon.
yes, we are going to be doing The Faculty. Ooh, I know.
Oh. Yeah.
Baby
Exciting.
Wood,
Baby Wood,
Baby
yeah.
Partner.
Dishy Hartnett.
Yeah, that hair.
Oh yeah, I know. What were we thinking? Why did we think that was okay? Why did we honestly think that was okay?
It was not okay. Well, it will never be okay in The
No.
Faculty.
I did this a couple of years ago on the Nerdy Up North podcast. I can't. I've done that many now. I generally can't remember, but for us, obviously, it's going to be our monster theme, and also we'll be looking, or I will be looking into the movies that kind of inspired it, because there is a plethora of them. And he died last year.
Donald.
Yeah. For audio, it's just going to be deadly silent for that second. But yeah,
Snow.
yeah, President Snow.
Mm.
Got the new Hunger Games book coming out soon. Just saying. Then the new movie. Just saying. I know it's not horror related, but hey, I like the Hunger Games. So me. Right. So that was we will do more cursed movies, and it will just be a case of we're going to call it as it is.
Yeah.
Not going to sugarcoat things.
Mm-mm.
And if it's not a cursed movie, it's not a cursed movie, and this is not a cursed movie.
However, for the
interesting.
purposes of what people think it is, we are titling it as cursed movie. So don't come for us for using it in the title, even though we don't think it is. Thank you. Goodbye.
I will do the ending.
How dare you?
Right, that was Cursed Movies. Next week is The Faculty. You can find us on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. If you hit the notification bell, you will be notified that the episode has gone up. The audio for this episode actually drops on the same day. If you search Monsters Up North from anywhere you get your podcast from, you will find this episode probably around about 4 o'clock, no later than 6 o'clock, available for your listening pleasure. The links for Bleeding Marvelous, Monsters Up North, and Nerdy Up North, where are they, Dan?
Down there.
Down there.
Look down. If you're on audio, you know that bit where you got the play button? It's down there. Down there. Down there.
Down there.
Down there.
Also, leave us a comment in the YouTube channel and let us know what you think of this, not just this episode, but also what you think of the idea of curse movies. Do you believe in them? Do you not? Do you think that this is categorized as a curse movie correctly? Or is it not? Let us know. We want to hear from you. We want to have these conversations with other people because, just me and her. Just me and they. So we're happy to have more conversations with more people if you want to. Yeah, I done it.
Done it.
Yeah, that was quite good as well, wasn't it? I'm impressed. I'm ruining it now, but I'm impressed. Well, if there's nothing else left to say goodbye, Dan.
This house is clean. Bye.
It's good, everyone. Bye.